So guys, welcome to the show. I'm very excited to have you here. Three people from one of our newest clients, which is really cool. So we're here to talk about remote social, and we have Mike, Jess, and I'm going to call you G because I can't say your name. But we'll put it in the text below so everyone can have their own versions of saying it. But I think the best thing to do is to have you guys sort of talk about what you do in your business. But before we get into that, as I'm sure I've told you in our first meeting, we love to work out what your story is, and then we can go and tell your story to other people and find people who align with your story, because they're the people that are going to be successful and they're the people that are going to want to work with you. But no one tells that story, as much as we try, better than you guys. So I'll go through all of you. We'll start with you, Mike, but I'd like to know probably what brought you on the journey to wanting to be a startup founder, and whether that's your first, second, third, fourth, or so forth, and how you ended up here, and then we'll just go along the line. Cool?
Yeah, I mean, I think my journey on becoming a founder started. I have been very fortunate to have worked for some incredible startups in the past, and actually worked in fairly senior positions or early stage positions with those companies and worked directly with founders. So I've had really close hand experience with some of the larger founders in the industry. And at every time that I'd done that, I always thought to myself there was just an itch that I wanted to scratch to actually try and push myself to do this as well, and really get out there and see whether I could build something and start something that could be as popular as what I had seen these other products be.
Cool.
And then when I found an idea that really resonated with me when COVID sort of struck and we discovered that a lot of people were working from home and I felt like it was something I could contribute to, I was really motivated to go and try and solve it and build something that would work. So
COVID you were born out of COVID, right?
The idea, the product idea, I guess, was, it's something that had been kicking around for a while. During my time at a previous startup, I'd seen what really good cultures looked like, and then I was able to contrast that against what working remotely did to really good cultures and how difficult it was to have those in a remote environment. And so I was thinking a lot around ways to encourage people to work together remotely really well, and the types of activities that you would be able to use to bring people together online. And then COVID struck and everyone was working remote. And I suddenly thought, like, this was my chance. Now is the opportunity. It was even more compelling when I was put on unpaid leave, I guess, from my previous role. And so I had a whole bunch of spare time and I was making some money back in from the unpaid leave that I was on. And I was like, let's use this time productively to actually tackle something that I'd been thinking about for a while. So it was a really good opportunity to start building something, which has turned into an idea, which then has morphed a few times throughout our experience and the journey we've been on into what is now remote social. So yeah, it's exciting to see that.
So not only are you the first three founder people we've had on the show, you're the first company that has been founded during COVID. So you're hitting all the firsts today, which is nice. What about you, Jess?
Groundbreakers. So I guess I have run my own business before. When I was living in Hong Kong, I started a business there, which was not a tech business. It was an apparel business, manufactured out of southern China with distribution around the world from logistics in Hong Kong. And that was a really incredible teacher, very, very challenging business in many ways. Obviously, apparel business is a very capital intensive, so really, really interesting business as a learning ground for my first time kind of founder journey. And then came back to Australia and had the experience of working in a venture-backed startup with some incredible guys, a really great team, and I loved working with them. But ultimately really came to a very strong sense that I had the skills that would enable me to really be ready to take another stab at running my own business, and that I was ready to do that, and that the being sort of employee 30 or 40 in someone else's startup, just wasn't the sweet spot for me at this time in my career. And very, very grateful to have met these guys and now be embarking on the remote social journey as we build out the product and start onboarding our first customers. I guess just to add to what Mike said, while the remote social idea was born kind of out of COVID in many ways, between the three of us, we've had the experience of working in a really diverse range of organisations with all sorts of setups, from small businesses to big multinational organisations, from NGOs to Atlassian, and everything in between in terms of the co-located, hybrid and fully distributed. So I think we bring quite a unique perspective as a team to the challenges that come with each of those different models.
Cool. And G?
I very similar to Mike. I think after working in large teams, global organizations, I always had that entrepreneurial monkey jumping on my shoulder saying, you can go and do and start your own business at some point. When I finished uni back in Colombia, where I'm originally from, in 2009, I actually started my own business. I started a consultancy firm telling businesses or guiding businesses on how to think about design thinking. That was a big thing back then. And I did that for a couple of years. I made many mistakes, but they taught me a lot of things. Yep. That process taught me a lot of things. Then I moved into a corporate world where I started my marketing career. But I always had that monkey on my shoulder saying, you can at some point go and do that again. Try to do that again and start your own business. And I think out of COVID, I also got made redundant, and it was just the perfect timing for me to go and explore that for a second time. And again, very lucky that I met these guys, and here we are.
It's interesting, isn't it? I think there's been a lot of companies born out of redundancies and unpaid leaves and stuff. And I think it's given, ironically, it's given this part of the economy a huge injection. You know, you've got to see the positives. Jess, why don't you tell us on how you guys all met? Because you've all come from different worlds and you've all come together. So tell us how that happened.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are in the process of finishing up in a program called Antler, which is, it's a startup generator as opposed to a typical accelerator, because they're focused on finding really high potential founders and giving them an opportunity to meet. Yep. And that's something that's incredibly difficult. Each one of us was really motivated. I mean, we can all relate to G's sort of entrepreneurial monkey on his back, and we all have identified with that kind of sentiment. But it's really, really incredibly hard to find amazing co-founders out there, and for those kind of worlds to collide at exactly the right time, that you have the space to be able to do that, the time to be able to do that with someone who you have sort of a complementary skill set with, and for all those kind of pieces to come together at the right time. So we all individually applied to the Antler Program, and that's how we met in the program. We connected before the program actually started, and we had all met and had all identified that we really liked one another. And then over the course of the program, in the first couple of weeks, we really started working intensively on each of the 3 ideas that we brought in, and started really drilling down on, you know, where we could bring really strong skill sets, where we thought the opportunities were, and really over time really focused on the remote social, because we could all really identify with the problem that people were having, and really saw a great opportunity to build a really innovative product there.
Did you meet remotely, or did you meet in person? So when you joined the Antler, were we in lockdown, or we'd just come out of it? Or I'm just intrigued to know whether you actually met for the first time remotely, or was it physical?
We met the first time remotely via Zoom. And I think we met very briefly via Zoom, and then we met at a cafe.
You're so living the values. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, that's cool. I love it. Yeah. So, Mike, tell me what remote social is. Explain to us what your platform does. So you're 5 months in, right?
Yep.
So tell me what the platform does, and tell me what it's going to do.
Sure. So the entire purpose of remote social is to bring people together and make it possible for you to socialise in an online setting with people who maybe you don't get a chance to catch up with as often as you'd like now, that we're maybe working in a hybrid environment or working from home.
Yep.
And the way that we do that is by providing a number of different, activities. You might call some of them games, but a lot of them are sort of activity-based as well, which give you an opportunity or almost an excuse to get together with those colleagues, friends, co-workers, people you haven't seen for a while online. And in the process of doing the activity or the game, you also get a lot of open time with which you can just converse with your friends, chat to them, talk, catch up, learn more about them as you go through that experience. We sort of have 2 parts to the product. The main part is the games and activities that we're building ourselves. So we've got as an example, we've built out a trivia game where you can get together with everyone and just play some trivia for a little while. We've got a physical activity chatbot, I guess you could call it, that runs to remind you every couple of hours to get up and do some movement and exercise, and challenges you to compete against your co-workers to do that and see who can do the most repetitions of a push-up, for example.
Yep.
And so those we've built ourselves, and then we've also got a marketplace of hosted activities where you can find someone like a chef or an artist to take you and your team through a guided session. Maybe you learn how to cook a dish, or you go and learn how to draw in a certain style, etc. And so if you're looking for various ways to bring your teams together, this is a great place to go and do that.
So rather than getting up and going to a kitchen and doing a cooking class together, you all switch online and do it together online. Is that the idea? And then you have obviously a professional.
Absolutely, yeah.
And is it designed at people or is it designed at businesses?
It's actually designed at both. So we do believe that businesses are the ones where most people are going to take interest in this, because it's been something that's shifted quite quickly from everyone being in person and being able to spend a lot of time together to suddenly a lot of loneliness and not seeing each other at all. It breaks down communication in businesses, but there's no reason why you can't then take this. And if you have, say, family who are trapped overseas because you can't travel anymore and you haven't seen them for a while, you can absolutely use any of our activities with friends or family who may be separated from you as well. So there's no limitation on that.
Awesome. And it's built now?
Yep. Yeah. So the first version is built and we are currently in closed beta testing. So we've got some very close friends and family of ours who are trying it out and giving us really, really good feedback on exactly how this works.
Close friends and family, they give you really, really good.
The good friends give you really good feedback.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, really important as we onboard our first customers and the first user group. The honesty of the feedback is incredibly important.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And G, tell me about the sort of future plans. You know, this is where you've got now. Have you got a roadmap of where you want to go? Have you got some crazy ideas you haven't really thought about yet? Where are you going? I mean, it's 5 months. You're pretty early, so I mean, I think you've done a lot already. But tell me what you see in the future.
So our long-term vision really is to become the place where teams go to interact, and we really want to be the place that helps businesses build culture on a remote or hybrid environment. Businesses spend millions of dollars trying to build that culture on a face-to-face environment.
They do.
It's so important that, and that's why they spend a lot of time investing on that. Now that face-to-face is no longer an option, and businesses and employees have seen the value of working remotely or working hybrid moving forward, culture we see is at risk, and that engagement is at risk. So really what we're trying to solve for in long term is how we can support businesses in continue to grow that culture and sustain it over time. As Mike said, we just launched our MVP. We have a close number of people testing and giving us feedback. In the next couple of months, we're going to continue to build more activities and games based on that feedback. For example, one of the things that we've heard from businesses is it's really difficult to onboard new staff on a remote environment.
Yes.
We can jump in and support with that, and that's something that we're working on at the moment. So things like that are things that we're going to start rolling out in 2021. But that long-term vision is how we can become the center of the team, the heart of the team from a cultural perspective.
Well, in some respects, if you think about it, and you mentioned it earlier, companies do spend millions, you know, whether it's beanbags or foosball or bars or all these things that they put into their offices, a lot of which haven't necessarily worked. They're all doing that on their own. Whereas now they're almost going to try and do it collectively and test things collectively and be able to pick and match. So in some respects, you're going to be saving them time, money, and a lot. It's going to be quite an awesome scenario in that. You're almost like a sand pit, if you want to use a development term, where they can try things out, and if they work, then they can push them out to all the other organisations, which is going to be awesome.
And I guess in addition to that is that we also have the opportunity to become the place where all those experiences live, and the history of a team lives, which is awesome because when you can always go back and see all the things that you've done with your teams, the photos, the memories.
Do you record stuff as well and take, you know, from computers when they're doing remote stuff? Can they do that and record? So if let's say they do a cooking class, can they all record it and then watch it back at the Christmas party next year, for example?
They could.
Yeah.
They could, yeah.
There could be some funny things you could see there. All right, let's talk about mistakes. And this is, I know you guys haven't been doing in business a huge amount of time, but I'm a big fan of talking about the learnings and mistakes as opposed to how wonderful everything is. So we'll start with you, Jess.
Yeah.
5 months in.
Yeah.
What's been your, not necessarily mistake, because mistake's the wrong word, but I think it's what's been the biggest lesson you've learned? Because you've all run your own businesses and been in startups before, so you're not coming in from corporate world. So you've already got some idea of what it's going to be like. But doing it for yourself in this environment, in COVID, what's been the biggest lesson for you?
I don't know if it's a new learning, but I think it's really reinforced to me the value, and this is something that Mike's very good at with his very strong product history, but retaining a very close relationship with your customers.
Yep.
I've worked in environments before where they haven't been as good, or they may have had really close relationships with the customers at the beginning, but then they've gone off and built products that are quite divorced from what their customers actually need. And that's a mistake that we're not keen to make within remote social.
Good idea.
So, and Mike's very good at this with his product manager hat on, that he's, having worked in a range of big organisations. And so we're really wanting to be very focused on walking in our customers' shoes and staying very close to them. And that's really at the heart of what we're doing as we develop out these products.
Cool. Mike?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the biggest learnings, again, I wouldn't use the word mistakes, but one of the biggest learnings just going through the Antler program that has been really interesting is I think I had quite strong ideas of what I thought it would take to build a business before coming in, and then actually going through the process of building a business. It is 10 times larger than I had thought it would be in terms of what's involved. And a very small component is having a good idea and then turning that into a product. And there's just so much else that happens around that needs to happen in order to bring something to life in terms of a business or a company. So that's been really insightful from my point of view.
I liken it to children.
Right.
So you have your first child and you forget how hard it is, and then you have your second child and you go, oh my gosh. And I can tell you now I'm on my third business, which I've just started again, and I've done 7 years sold, 7 years sold. I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I forget all of this? Because there's just so much to do.
Yeah.
What about you, G?
I think one of the things that I think a lot about is I try to remind myself that every day is different. I think we were talking about it with Jess yesterday, and it's sometimes you feel like everything is going amazing, and I get back home and like I had an amazing day, all these incredible things happen. Other days I get back home and I'm like, are we in the right track? This is being really difficult. So you have ups and downs. And I guess the overall thing is that if you don't learn how to enjoy that journey and be in peace of the fact that you're gonna have highs and lows, you're not gonna enjoy the whole journey of building a business. So you have to, if you learn how to enjoy the journey and understand that it's a journey, not just a day by day thing, you have a better chance of, I guess, being in a better place.
It's a bit like fitness, right? You train for something, for an event, and it's no fun. But then when you do the event, it's awesome. So you got to learn how to enjoy the training. Otherwise, it's a similar sort of thing. Cool. Now, one of the questions I find most interesting, because it doesn't necessarily relate to the last 5 months, so it gives you a bit more life experience to pull from in the answer, is beliefs, which I know we spoke about. So we'll stay with you, G. Tell me a belief that you have had at any point in your life that has now changed, and what changed that. And you can relate it to anything. It doesn't have to be related to remote social. You can relate it to that as well, of course.
Yeah. Being busy is okay as long as you're focused.
Busy doing nothing.
Yeah, because I always remember people telling me when I was starting my first business, it's like, just try to stay focused in one thing and only one thing, and that's how you make that thing happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, trying to ignore the noise and don't think about kids, don't think about family, don't think about friends, don't go out and have a party. Like, I believe you can always find space for everything as long as you put priorities in place.
Yep.
So I think that's fundamentally changed in the last couple of months working through the Antler Program and now bringing remote social to life. We had a kid recently with my partner. She's just turned 1, so I became a dad, super busy, starting a business. So it's been a busy year, but at the same time, prioritizing made it possible to succeed so far. So I think the belief that changed was you can do multiple things as long as you prioritize. You don't need to do one thing.
Society's got changed on that belief. I think more people now, and I've talked about this a couple of times with people, have non-negotiables in their life. So there are things, yes, I'm focused on building this business, but there are certain things, whether it be just had a baby, whether it be health, whether it be I love cooking, it doesn't matter what it is, but they create time to make sure they've got balance. Otherwise, we all know if you focus on one thing too much, you get sick of it or you burn out. So I think that's good. I think society's gone through a bit of that change over the last few years as well. So I think it's a cracking one. And yeah, look, having a child, I remember, that was a while ago for me, changes everything. It's a frightening experience, but it's amazing at the same time.
You can have a child and build a business
Yeah, and you'll forget how hard it is and have another one. I tell you, it happens to all of us. What about you?
Well, that leads fairly directly into the fact that I've got 3 children, so my beliefs are being challenged and changed
Constantly.
on a daily basis.
How old are they?
5, 7 and 9.
Oh, yes, they're getting opinionated now.
Very active, very smart, very lovely, and, you know, in many ways very sort of challenging because they're so smart girls. So, so my beliefs are constantly being challenged, and I guess one of the things that I'm constantly challenging myself on is, and I feel a very strong responsibility to them to be a really good role model. That has required my husband and I, over the course of the 10 years that we've been parents, to have really significant renegotiation of what it means to be a true partnership, about, you know, how we want to raise our daughters very consciously, about, you know, setting the right, you know, him being a good role model, me being a good role model, the dynamic we set within the house, and really wanting to make sure that we set the right example for them. So that has been something that has challenged things that I might have thought before, and, you know, made me want to be better, and, you know, really, you know, that's, you know, not the only reason why I do it, but definitely if I wake up one day and it's all feeling a bit much, as it inevitably does from time to time, that motivates me to get out there and to be better and want to set a great example for those girls. They still challenge me, and it's still hard, but yeah, I'm constantly pushed and motivated by that.
I'll bet. Well, mine are just pushing into teenage years. It's a whole nother world, I'm telling you now.
I bet, yeah. I can't wait.
Oh, don't rush it. Don't rush it. Like,
it has to be perfect. That was my belief
oh,
originally.
typical product person.
It has to be perfect. And I would always berate myself if I felt like something had been built and shipped that wasn't in some way perfect, and there were bits to it that didn't work quite right, or the customer experience didn't line up, or there were unanswered questions and people were just left confused.
Yep.
And I would often advocate for delaying delivery of something in order to get it right. And now that is just flipped completely, and I'm not the opposite.
You don't care.
I'm not saying, now I'm just ship anything. So now I strongly believe in iteration. So it has to be out there is probably now what I would say.
You get the feedback.
And you get it out there, and then you can work on it. But if it's not out there, you're not learning anything. And so until it goes live, it's worth nothing.
Well, that's
basically.
an awesome.
So yeah, I think that for me has been a really big shift, and I think that's also just changed my opinion to how we have been building the product ourselves. Like our goal is to get something out quickly. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to work so that people can play with it, and then we'll work on it from there. So
I reckon your co-founders are very happy about this change in belief.
probably.
I think we're all recovering perfectionists in our own
Oh
way.
my goodness.
Yeah.
And you all got together. What a frightening thought.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, cool. Right, let's go to something that's a little bit more personal to you guys. So this question is about podcasts and books and things like that. So a lot of people who watch this show, a lot of them are founders, and a lot of them want to work for startups and are in that space. And a lot of them are very much into self-improvement. So you go onto Apple iPods, which we're on, of course, or if you go onto YouTube, or if you go into Booktopia, there's endless amounts of content now, and it's very hard to sort of pluck things out. So I love to hear from people. You know, it doesn't matter if it's a book and a podcast, just a book, doesn't matter, but something that you have either experienced that changed you, or that you're just really enjoying right now and helps, and we'll go back to you, G, that maybe it's helped motivating you when you do have those tough times. Because sometimes I find podcasts are awesome when I'm not feeling it, basically.
Yeah. One of my favorite books that I really enjoyed reading recently was the story of Phil Knight, the founder of Nike.
Okay, yeah. I've got this. I haven't read it yet. The bright orange book.
Yeah.
Someone gave it to me.
Shoe Dog.
Yes.
Amazing story. I found it fascinating how entertaining he was.
I'm looking forward to it now.
Yeah, amazing story. Like the origins of how he traveled to Japan, trying to like partner with a brand there, and then started bringing shoes into the US, and how he had to fight against Adidas. And
Is he still alive?
Yeah, he's still alive.
Yeah. Cool.
He lost a kid. I don't remember when exactly, but he brings all his personal stories into the book, not only the Nike kind of bucket of his life. So it's very, very open kind of story from him, from a brand perspective and a personal perspective. Really good book to if you're a founder and you're going through the journey. A podcast that I listen to every day is one called Today Explained by Vox Media in the US. gives you a 30-minute kind of summary of what's happening in the world.
Yep.
With focus in one big story, and then 10 minutes in of just random.
A lot of people do these daily news things. I've noticed. We've
really
had a lot
good.
of them.
Good journalism. And then the one is long format. This next one is Business Wars. Don't exactly remember who produces that, but it's 6, 7, 8 episodes, 1 hour long of big wars between brands. So Nike versus Adidas, Coke versus Pepsi. So
Pepsi
I would.
never had a chance.
they put up a fight. I'm actually in the middle of that one.
Pepsi challenge? I remember.
Yeah,
the Pepsi
they're
challenge
talking.
on TV,
Yeah.
That was
So
fun.
that was a good recommendation from my side.
Cool. Jess?
I'm an avid podcast listener to the Verging on podcast, kind of tragic. I'm a long distance runner, and so podcasts accompany me very often along the way. I firmly believe with podcasts that there's a time and a place that podcasts will kind of come into your life and be applicable. I had a family gap year in Hong Kong. When we left Hong Kong, I had a family gap year in Spain and was doing a lot of running, and I was listening to a lot of health and wellbeing podcasts. Rich Roll is a really interesting one, someone who's been on a really incredible and very challenging life journey, and that was really interesting at that time and stage in my life. Obviously, How I Built This is a classic, and I feel like everyone who watches your show would listen to it. And look, it's a long list that's on my kind of high rotation. I'm reading the story at the moment, Let My People Go Surfing, which is the story of Patagonia and the founding story of how Patagonia came to be. Obviously, that is a business that has very strong ethical charter, very strong philosophies around how they build their culture, how they want to relate to the external environment, how they manage their finances, who they feel their responsibility is ultimately towards. It's still a privately held company, but I think it's very, very rare to read the story of a founder who has stayed, I think they strayed very briefly from their values, but very quickly corrected course. And they've now been around since the 60s when they first started producing mountaineering equipment.
Yep.
And their charter is very much, and they make all their decisions very much based on what the lasting footprint will be on the earth. And I think it's very rare to read or hear a story of someone who is so deeply and truly aligned to the vision that they set out to do. So really, really enjoying reading that. From a culture perspective, and why I actually selected it, from a culture perspective, they were really pioneers in encouraging women to come back to work, in providing flexible environments, in setting up daycares, and in terms of the flexibility, hence the title of the book, Let My People Go Surfing.
Yeah, I like that.
Their company policy is, if you're a skier and there's been a huge dump of powder, drop your tools, we know the work will get done, and go and do your passion. And that, we very, very closely aligned. That's something that resonates for all of us. We all have families. We all believe that flexible work is truly the way of the future, and that people, if you give them the trust and you create the culture that will enable people to thrive and have that balance and pursue their passions and still spend time with their kids, that ultimately that's going to be a win-win situation for both the business and the individuals, and that's a really symbiotic relationship.
Absolutely. And again, it's the kind of touching on that non-negotiable thing, having things that you need to do to be able to perform well in your job. You have to have both, right?
Yeah.
I think I drove everyone nuts at the start of the Antler program because I was just banging on endlessly about a 4-day work week, and I strongly believed in this 4-day work week.
Yeah.
It was just something that I really wanted to trial, was running just in a rhythm of 4 days. We were even joking that if the final presentations for Antler were on a Friday, I just wouldn't be there. So I just wouldn't show up.
It's always a Friday, right?
To be negotiated, but I still strongly believe in it. Obviously, building a startup requires a huge amount of time and effort. But again, to Jess's point, I think this is why we aligned so closely, was that we all believed in a good balance between what we do at work and then how much time we get to spend with loved ones.
Now, I think another Antler company that we've had on here has a 4-day work week, and they were in the same program as you. Do you think that you may have influenced them into that?
Maybe.
There's actually quite a few of our clients that now have 4-day work weeks, and obviously they spread people across the 5 days. But it is becoming a movement. Maybe it was started by Mike. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
He definitely is the biggest advocate for it within the program. But certainly that's something that we would love to work towards. We don't feel like right now, for the three of us as founders, at this particular particular stage in our journey that that's something that we can commit to for ourselves personally. But there is someone in our team who's working on and it's a small team, and he is working on a 4-day work week because that's what works for his family.
Yep.
And the work always gets delivered, and it's always an exceptionally high quality. So we're confident that when the time is right, that it will be able to work.
Results and outcome driven rather than
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so that brings us to the last question, which is really important because you guys are growing, which is why we've met, and I'm sure we'll continue to grow. There is no one better to describe why someone should work for you guys than you three. So you're probably all going to say the same thing, so you might want to split up, and I don't know who wants to start. But let's start with you, Jess. You're right in the middle.
Yeah.
Tell us why, if someone's thinking about joining a startup, why would they want to join you guys, Remote Social?
Well, I think we're building something that's very innovative and has the opportunity to really be a category leader. And so I guess that's the first, if that's something that excites people, then, that's an obvious reason to join. Being an early stage business, we're really looking to bring people into the team who can lead and who can grow with us as we build out such an innovative product. It is an opportunity which is a global one, which I think is very exciting to people who want to get into the tech space. There's no reason why our product can't be picked up tomorrow by a global team and used in the States, in Spain, in the Philippines, all over the world in the same way that it could be in Sydney. So I guess those are all the kind of sort of vision reasons. But I guess, for us, sort of individually and on a personal level, we consider ourselves to be incredibly collaborative and very focused on building a strong culture. Because if we don't walk the walk of a strong culture, then our product really ultimately can never deliver to the needs of our customers.
Yeah.
So we're very focused on being a strong team that delivers on the culture piece because that really informs the strength of our product.
Cool. G, what have you got?
I mean, I think Jess did an amazing job in covering.
It was a pitch, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, and absolutely. I think you nailed everything. Like that was really good. I think the one thing that I would add is that we have a lot of fun. Like we always find
Glad
time.
to hear it.
Yeah, we always find time to crack a joke and go for a beer at some point in the week, and we just have fun. We really love what we're doing, and then I would then go in and go a little bit deeper about the opportunity of building something that doesn't exist.
Yep.
We really believe that we're building something that is completely new, that is going to be solving a big problem for businesses in the future, and we are ahead now. We now have a product out there that businesses are trialing. So whoever is interested in coming and joining us in this early stage is a massive opportunity. So that the opportunity is there.
Fantastic. And Mike, it's always tough going last on this question. So what have you got?
Well, they've covered pretty much everything. Just to double down on the fun thing, so many people will come up here and say, well, we have fun, we all have fun. We're actually building fun. So the product that we're building is games and fun entertainment that bring people together to have fun.
Yep.
And in order to do that, we have research sessions where we just get board games out. We're literally just, as part of our work, playing with each other to try and work out how we can get dynamics that would actually work as a game together.
Yep.
If you want to build something and you have your own ideas as well, we absolutely at this stage of the business are looking for people that will collaborate with us on bringing their thoughts and ideas on what we could build for other teams. If you've had experience with remote teams, if you've experienced the frustration of trying to keep in touch with people that you work with firsthand and want to try and fix that problem, that's exactly the space that we're tackling. And we're not like precious on exactly what we're building for that. So if you have your own ideas on things that you wanted to do to solve these problems, we're all ears, and we would love to partner with you on building those things out. So it's a huge opportunity to showcase your ambition and your skills and to bring that to a huge audience globally. So we're pretty excited.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, guys. It's been really good to hear all three of your stories, and it's good to have the first trifecta. I've enjoyed it a lot. Yeah. I really wish you the best of luck. I can say from, talking to candidates about your business, the response is always so positive. People love the idea, people get the idea, and people and see the need for the idea. So you're obviously on the right track because we're talking to hundreds of candidates all the time. So that's a great thing. So I wish you the best of luck, and maybe we'll have you back on again when you are absolutely smashing it out of the park.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.